That's the best Bubbles impersonation I can do. This is Bubblevicious, and I'm honestly surprised this episode aired because Dexter's Laboratory had an episode very similar to this that got. I mean, let me just go into the plot summary first. So, the plot of the episode is that Bubbles is really upset because everyone's treating her like she's young. And the thing that really upset her was on training when they have like this training simulation room, and Bubbles is like on setting number 2 or 3, and Buttercup is on like 10. And between that, being asked to sleep with the light on, like Bubbles is just, she's, enough is enough. So she, at night, she goes into the simulation room, sets the simulation to the highest setting, 11. And, at first I thought, okay, she's going to realize, maybe the professor's right. But nope, she pretty much destroys the room in a very, really well done, but also really violent and unpleasant manner. And then she basically just, it goes to her head, and she thinks she's unstoppable. She decides she doesn't need the other girls to save Townsville, and she honestly starts helping people. She kind of goes the Man of Steel route, causing more destruction than helping. Although with this one, it's intentional. Man of Steel, I think they were just more obsessed with fighting. Wouldn't it be cool if we had the buildings get destroyed in Man of Steel? But anyway, eventually, she's careless, and Mojo Jojo captures her, and the idea is he's going to do the cliche of, I'm going to torture you to lure the other girls here, but it backfires. Bubbles escapes, beats the living shit out of him. I'm sorry. Excuse my language there, but that's basically what she does. I mean, this episode was particularly violent. The girls show up, realize she beat Mojo Jojo, withstood a hot laser on level 11, and accept her. And then Mojo Jojo tries to attack the girls again, and Bubbles just beats him up more. So, the reason why I compared this episode to Rude Removal is they're both very similar. They both involve taking characters and having them be really mean, violent, rude, and aggressive. And it got surprisingly violent and aggressive to a point where I was like, I'm amazed no one from Cartoon Network came in and said, you guys need to tone this down. This is way too violent, even for our Powerpuff Girls episode. And to some extent, I mean, I do really enjoy the episode, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like maybe they took it a little too far. Like, maybe it was a little too... I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a dark, violent Powerpuff Girls episode. You should. Although at times I wonder if they went a little too far. Like, if they could have gotten their point across without being this dark and this unpleasant. At the same time, though, it's nice. It was a really relatable episode. You can relate to Bubbles being treated like a child. I mean, sometimes with my parents, they don't talk to me like I'm a baby, but, like, they'll hold my hand a lot, and, like, I'll be like, guys, I'm a big guy. I can do this. So it's relatable. And also, Bubbles' rage is justified. I mean, I feel like we've all had those moments where, like, something's just been building up and we just completely lose it and we need to let it out. And I thought this episode really nicely spoke to all that. Same time, I think there is the professor and the girl's mentality of, like, the treating Bubbles like a baby. I think that's understandable, too. I mean, the parents, it's like you know them since they were a baby, and you sort of get into this mindset or habit of treating them like a baby that you really don't comprehend that there's going to be a point where you don't need to do that, where they have grown up. And in regards to the girls, like, Bubbles really seems like the most adorable one for colors, with that adorable voice that Tara Strong just nails every time. I mean, once I was working with this I don't want to go into details, but I was working with this kid, and not working with this kid. By working, I mean interacting with this kid, and there was this really adorable kid I knew once, and he was really adorable, had this really sweet-sounding voice, but it turns out he was actually a bit of a bully, and a bunch of people, myself included, overlooked it because of how adorable he was. So, I'm not saying Bubbles is evil, but I'm just saying, like, when we tend to look at people on their outside more than their inside. We look at them more how they look and sound and thinking, you know what? Probably not. I mean, it would be sort of like if Buttercup was like a really sweet and innocent girl, but she had this really mean voice and appearance that everyone just assumed she's. I mean, she is that way in the show, but that's because, again, it's a kid show, so they sort of need to exaggerate the personalities through appearances. And yeah, I kind of lost my point, but the point is, I do like how the show is sort of speaking to this. Just because they look and act one way doesn't mean that that's all they are. That they want to be seen that way. And it was really interesting. Bubbles is really getting the best episodes of the show. And I don't know if that's just because I really like Bubbles as a character or if she's the most relatable. But Bubbles has had really good episodes. Although I still prefer Octa-Evil over this one. Just because, I don't know, I feel like they went a little too far in some places. Tara Strong was really on point in this episode. Like, she really nailed the adorable sounding high-pitched voice. And there's a bunch of stuff she needs to get. She needs to get scared, upset, angry, and she's just able to nail it all in that voice. And just really hit home emotions. Like, I mean, I feel like it would be very easy to make that voice something that would be hard to take seriously. I mean, especially when she's really angry and upset. I mean, at time, and surprisingly, I'm not laughing. Like, because when you hear that voice, like, you should be going, oh, or laughing. But when Bubbles is angry and pissed, I'm like, whoa! I'm like, even with that voice, and I think a lot of that has to be due. I think part of that's also due to the writing and the animation on the show. But at the same time, though, I feel like something about the way Tara Strong is delivering that voice, you completely buy that Bubbles is angry, and you completely feel something other than amusement. And so kudos to Tara and everyone involved for doing that. So next up, I'm really surprised that Mojo Jojo actually felt like he needed to intervene. You'd think there'd be like word going around about how Bubbles is on a complete rampage, and honestly, Mojo Jojo didn't have to do anything. He could just sat back, and Bubbles probably would have wrecked Townsville and fought the Powerpuff Girls. Which that's like the only thing this episode was missing. I wonder if I wonder if the creators originally had the idea for Bubbles to fight the Powerpuff Girls in her rage. And then the creators are like, nope, that's going a little too far. That's a little too mean-spirited. Because I feel like it could have gone there, but at the same time, I feel like, yeah, this episode's already dark enough. The last thing you want is to have Bubbles beat up. I mean, because, yeah, then, who knows, maybe little girls watching this would have gotten the ideas to beat up their sisters when they're mad. And this episode is already I'm just amazed this episode got by the censors, because I'm not the only one to see this, right? This show is particularly violent. I mean, this is Jendy Tartakovsky, who, I mean, he said in interviews that he really loves action and violence, which kind of shows because Samurai Jack is, well, it's not all that, but it's mostly that, but you can definitely see his love to do action, but it works in terms of story. Like, I don't feel like Jendy Tartakovsky made this episode thinking, I just want an episode where there's gonna be tons of violence and action. Like, he actually wrote a story that worked, that set itself up for that. And yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is basically rude removal. So I'm really surprised that it didn't get banned. But who knows? I haven't looked up any of the information. Maybe they got notes on it. Maybe they didn't. But still, nonetheless, really good episodes. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. Did you love this episode? Where you're like, it's a little too dark. They went a little too far. Comment and let me know. And as always, if you want to see more Powerpuff Girls vlogs, subscribe to me. And hopefully I'll be able to get more. I've been on a pretty good streak lately, just recording a bunch, which are going to be released like weekly or monthly, depending on how much I'm able to record over the next couple weeks. But we'll see. So until then, this is JStars360, and I'll see you guys later, and hopefully I'll be able to get my sunglasses back. Anyway, take care.